Radiator Springs really is the true soul of the whole Cars movie series, and when you dig into its history, it is actually a pretty fascinating story. The whole thing kicked off way back in 1909. At that time, a guy named Stanley, who made his living selling radiator caps, was making the long trek out toward California. While he was driving, his radiator started boiling over and got way too hot, which forced him to pull over and stop. It was a stroke of luck that he stumbled upon an old natural spring right there. That water was a total lifesaver for him, and it got him thinking that other travelers on that road would likely run into the exact same overheating problems he did. He decided to stick around and help people out, and from that simple act of kindness, a tiny settlement began to grow piece by piece. Once he met his future wife Lizzie, the two of them decided to dream a bit bigger. They moved the operation to a new spot and officially founded the town we know today as Radiator Springs, naming it as a tribute to that original spring that saved Stanley's engine. That is the basic backstory, but the town went through some huge ups and downs after that. For a long time, Radiator Springs had its golden era. It was a bustling, lively place filled with traffic and tourists, and business was booming. However, everything took a turn for the worse the moment Interstate 40 was finished. The new highway was designed to get people across the country faster, which meant it completely bypassed the town. Suddenly, the steady flow of travelers vanished. Without any customers, things started to crumble. Shop owners couldn't make a living anymore and were forced to lock their doors and move away. The town fell into a state of ruin and never really recovered its former glory after the interstate arrived. It basically turned into a ghost town where the only visitors are people who take a wrong turn and end up there by mistake.
Customers, everyone! Customers! Okay,
Customers.
all right, everybody calm down. It's been a long time. Just remember what we rehearsed.
Man, I just don't see any on-ramp anywhere.
Minnie, I know exactly where we are.
Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere.
Honey, please.
But even though the paint is peeling and the streets are quiet, the few residents who stayed behind have never given up hope that their home might one day find its way back onto the map. Lightning McQueen's arrival was the turning point that changed the fate of Radiator Springs forever. Being a world-famous racing celebrity, his presence brought a level of attention the town hadn't seen in decades, but it didn't start out that way. When he first accidentally tumbled into town and destroyed the main road, he was a total egomaniac. He looked around at the local residents and honestly thought they were just a bunch of hillbillies and lunatics.
Don't leave me here! I'm in hillbilly hell! My IQ's dropping by the second! I'm becoming one of them!
He felt like the town was beneath him and he couldn't wait to get back to his high-profile life in the fast lane. However, as he was forced to slow down and actually spend time with the residents there, something shifted deep inside him. He went through a massive personal transformation, shedding his arrogant me-first attitude and becoming a much more grounded person with a fresh perspective on what really matters in life.
You just gave up the piston cup. You know that?
This grumpy old race car I know once told me something.
It's just an empty cup.
Because of this bond, Radiator Springs became the most important place in the world to him. When the rest of the world finally discovered that the famous Lightning McQueen was hiding out in this tiny forgotten spot, the town was suddenly thrust back into the spotlight. It wasn't just a dot on the map anymore, it came back stronger and more popular than it had ever been during its original glory days. Lightning eventually decided to make the town his permanent racing headquarters, which brought a steady stream of business and excitement back to the streets. By the time everything settled, Radiator Springs had completed an incredible comeback. It went from being a lonely ghost town on the verge of disappearing to a bustling, thriving tourist destination. It also became a beautiful tribute to the memory of Doc Hudson, serving as a shrine to his legacy as a racing legend and a mentor. The community is no longer just struggling to keep the lights on or hoping for a random car to drive through. Instead, it has found a perfect way to fit into the modern world by proudly showing off its rich history. They aren't just surviving anymore, they are truly living.